Hey there. Take a look at, say, a box. How would you actually describe it? I don't mean with words, but with numbers. Well, today, we're going to learn the language of shapes. This is the practical, hands-on math you actually use to measure the world all around you.
You've been there, right? You start some project and suddenly you're hit with these questions. Okay, how much fence do I actually need for the garden? Or how much paint do I need for this wall? How much water will it take to fill up this pool? The answer to that big question, how much, it always comes down to just a few core ideas.
And that's exactly what we're going to do right now. In just the next few minutes, our goal is to get you speaking the language of shapes fluently, so you can look at any space, any object, and know exactly how to measure it and make sense of it. All right, let's kick off our journey in the first dimension. We're starting simple, with a measurement called perimeter. The easiest way to think about it, just walking the line. So, what is it exactly? Well, simply put, the perimeter is just the total distance all the way around the outside of a shape. That's it. It's a one-dimensional measurement. We're just talking about a length. And this is something you already know intuitively, right? I mean, think about putting up a fence. You're not trying to cover the garden with fence posts. You're just trying to enclose it. You're just measuring that single line that goes around the outside. That line, that's the perimeter.
And here's the best part. The math for it could not be simpler. Seriously, it's always just addition. You just take the length of each side and add them all up. Side 1 plus side 2 plus side 3, and boom, you're done. That's all there is to it.
Okay, you've mastered perimeter. Let's level up. We're moving into the second dimension now. So, we've walked the line around our shape. Now what if we want to fill the space inside it? Well, now we're talking about area.
So, the official definition is that area is the number of square units you need to cover a surface. And you got to pay attention to that word square. That's the key. We're not just measuring a line anymore. Nope, we've moved into two-dimensional space. And again, think about it in the real world. You don't buy carpet just to trace the outline of your room, do you? No way! You buy it to cover the entire floor. You don't just paint a fancy border on the wall, you paint the whole surface. That is area, right there in action. Now this is the spot where people sometimes get a little mixed up, so let's make this super clear. Perimeter is a 1D length, and you find it by adding up the sides. Area, on the other hand, is a 2D space, and you find it by multiplying dimensions. And that's exactly why the units are different. Area is always in square units, like square feet or square inches.
And if you look at the basic formulas, you'll see how logical this is. For a rectangle, it's super easy, right? Length times width. But check out the triangle. This is so clever. A triangle is literally just a rectangle that's been cut in half. That's why the formula is base times height, and then you divide it by 2. Once you see that, it totally clicks.
All right, you're ready? It's time to take the leap into the third dimension. So far, we've measured the line around a shape and the flat space inside it. But now, let's figure out how much a 3D object can actually hold. Now we're talking about volume.
Are you starting to see the pattern here? Perimeter was just a line. Area was measured in square units. So what's next? You guessed it. For volume, we're measuring in cubic units. We are literally counting how many tiny little cubes it would take to completely fill up a solid object. Honestly, this might be the most satisfying measurement of them all. I mean, how much coffee is in your mug right now? How much air is in the room you're in? How much stuff can you cram into a moving box? Every single one of those questions. It's a question about volume. And the way you figure out volume is, believe it or not, pretty simple. Here's the secret. First, you find the area of the flat bottom of the object, the base. Got it? Then, you just multiply that area by how tall the object is. It's like you're taking that flat 2D area and just stacking it layer after layer all the way to the top. That stack, that's your volume. Okay, we've got one final concept to tackle, and this one kind of ties everything we've learned together. We're still in 3D, but here's the twist. Instead of measuring the space inside an object, we're going to go back and measure its outside. This is called surface area. What is it? Well, surface area is just a total of the areas of all the individual faces of a 3D object. See how that works? We're right back to using our 2D area skills, but we're just applying them to a 3D shape. And the absolute best way to think about this is wrapping paper. It's the perfect analogy. The space inside the gift you're wrapping, that's its volume. But the amount of wrapping paper you need to cover the entire box on the outside, that's its surface area. It's all about measuring the exterior.
So how would you actually calculate it?
Well, imagine you take a cardboard box and you carefully cut it along its edges so you can lay it out completely flat. That flat pattern you just made, that's called a net, and the surface area is simply the total 2D area of that entire flat net. You just add up the area of each little piece.
And just like that, we've gone from a simple line all the way to a full 3D solid. So let's wrap this up by recapping the complete geometric toolkit you now have at your disposal.
So here it is, the whole shebang. When you need to measure the line around something, that's perimeter. When you need to cover a flat surface, you're looking for the area. If you want to fill a 3D object, you need to measure its volume. And finally, if you want to wrap that 3D object, you've got to calculate its surface area. 1, 2, and 3 dimensions, all covered.
Look, this isn't just some abstract math you learn in a classroom. This is a real, practical language for understanding the world around you. Right now, the floor you're standing on, it has an area. The room you're sitting in, it has a volume. You literally have the tools now to measure it all. So the only question left is, what are you going to measure first?